Morning everyone, welcome to What's Your Brew. I'm your host Talal Marik and today we are here with our esteemed guest Mr. Ragulan Tharmakulasingam, the founder of Pick a Book, a global movement leading the people to read, speak and grow as a person. It's a pleasure to have you here, Mr. Raghu. So, within your journey, we came down to all your events starting from when you started Pick a Book and how you came to where you are today. And one of the main questions we had was, why do you think Sri Lanka as a country needs Pick a Book now more than ever?
Immersed with technology and devices now, kids to teens, adults, we are just becoming more individualistic and we are even forgetting to talk to people next to us, right? And the question again is, every day we are scrolling and then we are browsing, are we consuming the right content? So it's important for us to make sure that every day we consume right content to make sure that we become better version of ourselves. So that's actually important. Another thing is Sri Lanka, for those days, it's a very communal country. We had a great social interaction. So let me share an interesting story of my childhood. During my school holidays, I was born in Jaffna in a small village. I had to wake up every day early morning and read that day's newspapers in front of group of grandpas. Mm-hmm. So initially I hated it, I didn't want to do that, and then my mother used to chase me out from the bed saying, Ragulan, go, get out, do it. But eventually I started liking it, looking at their happy and the smiling faces, and then even after the reading session, I took those insights, those intellectual discussion and shared those with my friends in the neighborhood, and they loved me for that. And we had a similar gathering like that with a teacher, right? Where we sit around a big tree with her and she would read a book, Mahabharata, Ramayana. I took those insights, shared those with my siblings and parents. So we had a great social interaction. Now, how many wonderful moments are lost in Sri Lanka because of the addiction to technology? And I think we are losing the human connection. So now the entire idea is to make sure that as human, we learn from each other, we interact on a regular basis, we get the best out of it. And every conversation, it should create meaningful and it helps you to become a better version. So those are the important things. At this point, Sri Lanka needs Pick a Book, more like these reading movements, right? Now, Pick a Book is all about bringing the long lost social interaction back through the habit of reading. So what we basically do is readers meet on a weekly basis and then they read a book, they present a book, they talk about the perspectives, right? And where they learn the perspective from each other and they become a better version of yourself. And take a company right now, in organizations now, AI is everywhere, right? And people are even scared of whether we will lose the jobs because of AI. But the thing is now, the question again here is, self-learning is crucial, right? Now you give a training to your employees, everyone get the same training. Who performs better, who has that capacity and the capability and the focus of self-learning, right? So reading books is one way of you learn by yourself, right? So what we do is we again create an environment within the company to make sure that self-learning become a culture within, where you create knowledge through books. So when you see all these things, it's about creating a doorway of knowledge and connection through books, and it's about making people to become a better version of themselves.
You speak quite a lot about, or at least around the point, and we in fact just told it entirely clearly, saying people are so addicted to their devices, the quota or the percentage on human interaction has reduced significantly, and it's been seen everywhere around Sri Lanka. So you took something as Pick a Book, something as a child we are pushed traditionally to read, to learn, to by heart or to understand. You took something as traditional and as normalized and you turned it into a community-based model where humans interact with each other quite more significantly and they exchange valuable insights through reading what they read, and you turned it into a community-based model and into a business. And how did it get from there to there? Like, what was the...
Yeah, of course, as I mentioned, the inspiration is from my childhood memories. The next is, within the company, we started it as a sort of an internal activity to make sure that everyone reads. So we request the team members, you pick one chapter every day, present it, right? So we have seen a massive transformation in them, right? But the thing is, when it comes to reading, like traditional reading is about you pick a book, you read, you keep it within yourself, right? Now, generally people don't interact, right? Now, the time that now you read a book, right? within a minute you forget the content, and if you take a month you may forget the entire content of the book. But by reading and by presenting, what happens is you interact and remember the content better. So traditional reading is more towards you keep inside, right? But when it comes to pick a book, it's about creating a community, right? So you have your accountability partner to make sure that you become better on a daily basis by through reading. So you have a friend they may call you and tell, okay, see, I am reading this book, what do you think? And even during discussion, they get a lot of trigger points, right? Now, you don't need the whole book to change your life. Even single sentence is enough for you to change your life. So that's how community-based models becomes more sustainable when it comes to habit creation. So that's what we say, anything you do for 21 days becomes a habit, 90 days become a lifestyle, right? So it's a habit, right? Anytime you can lose it, right? So you need a right ecosystem to make sure that you stay in the habit on a regular basis. So our meetings are weekly meetings, so people come on a weekly basis, they read a book, share book, they get perspectives. Now take for an example, you read a book called Alchemist. A 21-year-old read the book and presents or discuss it, it is a different perspective. A 30-year, it's a different perspective. At the same time, someone with great experience who would be at 50, it's a different perspective. So imagine in a room when you discuss, when you present the book, and then when you discuss the perspective, the amount of knowledge and information that you are going to gather, that cannot be done through individual reading. So it is your perspective. When you read a book, it's your perspective. The time that you share those with among others and with others, it's a different perspective. So what we did was we created a structured model to make sure that the reading habit stays with them. So first they become readers, and then from being a reader, they become coaches, mentors, they take up the regions, right? And then start inspiring others. So as Pick a Book ecosystem, we give a lot of platform for the readers to become better. Now, if you're a non-reader, they become a reader. If it's a reader, they become avid readers. Now, avid readers, it's a platform to share what they read and spread that inspiration. So each and every one, they have enough opportunities to make sure that they make an impact.
And plus, like, I have realized anyone who is clearly able to articulate themselves very well when speaking are some of the best conversationalists I have seen, and that comes from them reading insightful books. Like, you get fiction and non-fiction, and there are people, like you said, it doesn't take the whole book to create someone a mindset, it takes a sentence. So some it's a quote or something that they live by, right? So when you started this Pick a Book, when you were going ahead with the branding and whatever process that came in to do this, to bring it to where it is, you obviously face challenges, that goes without a doubt, because something as simple to turn it to where it is now had to come with a certain set of obstacles. So why not let us know, like, what were them?
All right, so there are a few challenges that we of course face. Now, a general challenge would be like the time. Now, we are competing for time. Now, everyone knows reading is good, it's a good habit to have, but again, with the busy lifestyle, so stressful, people are just running here and there, it's a firefight for everyone. So finding the time is important. So for our competing is that time, competitors, right? Where either you can watch a Netflix or you can go and do something else. But again, the time that they spend, are they spending wise, right? Can they read? So it is about that time factor when it comes to competition for us. So it's a challenge for people to realize. So that's what the entire ecosystem that we have created encourage each and everyone. See, example, for you to get into the habit of reading, it's about first you create an environment. Wherever you go, you see a book, right? So that's what people should talk about the books all the time, right? So since we created the environment and accountability partners, it's easy for them. But of course, it's a challenge, right? For example, if you take 20 in the room, 5 would be readers, and then when you start all these engagement, you get other 5 joining the movement. But 10, it's still difficult for them to find that the time to spend on reading. So time is of course a factor, which is a challenge, right? And then the next one would be when it comes to companies. So it's a conventional model, right? In the sense, reading, presenting, and then when you say reading, now everyone asks, hey, Ragulan, do you think people reading these days? And people say, now contents are very short, right? The question is, when you say the shorter contents, right? can you get enough knowledge from this is the question, right? But when you read a book, the amount of knowledge you get, also by consuming a shorter content, the knowledge you get are two different aspects. There are two different spectrum of it, right? So when it comes to companies, the normal question is, hey Ragulan, people, there is no time for people to read. Will it work? So it's always new for them, right? So it's a fear of failure sometimes for them. But for what we have seen so far is the companies who adapted it, they see a massive transformation in people. So example, I can tell you one example. We had a small session, pick a book session. So we discussed this book called Charisma Myth by Olivia Fox. Interesting book, right? So there's a nice story. So we had some great CEOs in the room listening to the session, and one CEO was there. So he said, okay, no, Ragulan, I thought this book is a must for me to listen. Let me see what the presenter telling. So there was an interesting story the presenter shared. So I think it's 19th, right? It's Benjamin Disraeli and William Gladstone. So they were contesting for the election in British, and both of them took the same woman for dinner, right? Different times, right? So after dining with William Gladstone, the reporters asked the woman, whom you think the smartest. After dining with both of them, the reporters asked the woman, whom you think the smartest. So she told, after dining with William Gladstone, I thought he's the cleverest person in England. But after dining with Benjamin Disraeli, I thought I am the cleverest person in England. So who won the election? Benjamin Disraeli. So the author says, Olivia Fox says, charismatic people make others feel special about themselves, right? So after that particular story, now this CEO was stunned for a while, and after the entire session, so the presenter presented the book. He came and told us, Ragulan, I think I have a huge employee turnaround in my company. My managers are not staying. I thought some other issue, but now I realized it all because of me. He took the book, he read the book, he practiced all the tool, he reduced the entire employee turnover. So that's what I said, so those are the moments, right, where it worked. But again, for companies, it's new for them. So it's important for them to test it out and see. The next is, when it comes to the challenges, would be funding, right? Now you say, any companies, for you to scale up, you need funding, infrastructure, resources. So when you sometimes go and pitch to VCs, venture capitalists, especially the VCs, right? The question is, what's in it for us, which is very common, right? But since it's a new model, it's always a challenge for us to convince them, because pick a book is, again, it cannot be explained sometimes, it can be only experienced. So these are the three major challenges that we faced when it comes to pick a book. But initially we thought COVID was a challenge, but it was not. COVID actually helped us to scale up globally.
The way you said the fact that no one thought a book could affect an employment rate of a company, because these are all new to them, and new things take time to be cultivated within a mindset of a person, and that's obvious. Like you said, it takes 3 months to cultivate a habit, and then it goes further and it becomes a lifestyle. Yes, and the fact that this CEO read that book and he understood how charismatic elements work to help with people feeling better about themselves, and that in fact turned over the employment rate. Like that, there would have been other success stories that would have moved you, and the cause of your initiative. Would you mind sharing a few other success stories that you feel like really moved you?
Yeah, okay. So now, first success story, let me take myself, right? I was 110 kilos before. So I had 2 stages of my weight loss journey, 110 to 89, 89 to now 67.5. So 110 to 89 was so easy, right? In the sense, normal regular workouts, cutting down foods, all normal things. It was so easy for me to reduce. But 89 to 67, that particular stage, I was there in the 89 kgs for at least 5 years. I worked out, I ate things right, I took nutrition, I even consulted enough nutritionists, gym trainers, weight didn't drop. So then I came across few books called Becoming Supernatural, Autobiography of Yogi, and then Silva's Method, these 3 books and some more books. So the books led me to understand my body better, right? And what I did was I explored those techniques, triggers, and I implemented those practice, and I reduced weight. So possibly first story would be mind, right? Where book helped me a lot. So it's not only like, it can even transform your body, mind and soul, right? It's not only about, your exercise for your brain, but also even it can help you to transform yourself. That's one. And then we have some great readers we have some great corporate professionals who have not read a single book. Now every year they read 39 books, right? They have authored their own book as well, right? We have also seen kids, first presentation, they were struggling to present, they were crying. Now they can even take the stage and present in front of at least 100, 200 odd people without even preparation. So I wanted to share one more corporate interesting story. One day, one CEO called us and told, say, team, pick a book. We have a small issue. My sales team is not, they're having trouble with their manager. He couldn't get the best out from the sales team, the head of sales. I said, okay, either you keep the head of sales or you can send him off, right? I wanted to keep him, but is there any way that he can read a book and understand the dynamics? So we gave this book called Dale Carnegie's How to Influence and Influence People. You won't imagine, this guy read the book. He actually took the book to his heart, right? And then the entire sales performance increased. So the employee turnover, again, the other sales guys' turnover reduced. He basically understood the mechanisms, and now he carries that book everywhere. Wherever he goes, he said, my first book was How to Influence and Influence People, and it's like a Bible for me, right? So that's what he said. I say, not all the books can change life, but at the same time, there are some great books, great titles. One trigger is enough for people to, get the trigger them. Absolutely. So those are some. There are many stories we have. Huge. I think we also have some great young entrepreneurs who are Pick a Book members, who are running their own entrepreneurial academies and then YouTube channels, and they are performing very well. And then we have kids who have been part of Pick a Book, who have authored their own book, running their own businesses. So there are many stories.
So as you said, there were many CEOs who, through you, began reading a book or taking a book to heart, and from there it affected their lifestyle as a businessman. What was a book that affected you as a businessman? What was the book that you had to take to heart, knowing that this will change the trajectory of my company?
All right. So two books, right? Now there are many books, right? But I think I love these two books. One is Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Next is Turning the Flywheel by Jim Collins. Okay. So Start With Why, interesting read, because he says in the book there's an introduction of a golden circle. Right now, customers don't buy what you do; they buy why you do it. Right. So those sentences triggered me. I read the book. Now anything we do, we practice the book. Right. So any businesses that we start, we basically see, is that our purpose, whether it is right for us to do it, right, or is it within our framework of business, right? So that particular book has given me a lot of understanding, and then a lot of insights to make sure that we reframe all the business model, right? So that's one. And then in the book also, he talks about a new competition is there, because the time that you focus on your why strong, and you are your own competitor, you try to become a better version of yourself every day. You don't treat others as your competitors. So we also have a core value there. We every day as company, we make sure that we invent, we innovate to make sure that we become better, right? So we introduce new things, we speak to the members. So of course, thanks to Simon Sinek, Start With Why, and then his other following book, Find Your Why, also one of the great read. And then next is the Flywheel, okay? Because I think when I read Good to Great by Jim Collins, there is a small addition called, small chapter on Turning the Flywheel. So then he authored a separate book, a very small book called Turning the Flywheel. So Flywheel, it's interesting, right? Flywheel, it's about, when you take a big iron rod, wheel rod, like when you roll it, it never moves, right? You have to push, and the time, possibly in few pushes, it take the momentum and it keep rolling. So likewise, all the businesses, it's like a flywheel. The more harder you push, right, and keep your flywheel elements right, and you push hard, amend the flywheel elements, but you have to keep pushing hard. Then the iron wheel, the rod, the larger one will start rolling, and the time it rolls, you can't stop it. It rolls fast, right? So what we did was, through that we strategized a lot of things to make sure that our 5 flywheel elements are right, and we kept rolling 5 years now. We never stopped it. Only thing is we changed the element, experimented, changed the dynamic, but every day we innovated based on the flywheel. So those are the 2 books that we can call its co-op pick a book as well.
I love how a single person's influence based on what he learned and what he put into a book can affect people's lives globally. And you think, you just see stats on a web page, probably 100,000 people read the book, but it takes you time to finally understand that those are all humans. And unless you meet them, shake their hand, and they tell you that this book changed my life, like Simon Sinek has had a significant influence in your life and including my life. And that's just amazing to even think about. And now, in Pick a Book, was there ever like a conversation that made you rethink your entire business or life as a person? And I mean, everyone sees you as the founder of Pick a Book, but obviously there were conversations that you had to make a choice in your life. Is this going to be who I am? Is this how it's going to be? Is this how the business will roll from now on? So was there ever a conversation there?
Yeah. So I think, let me tell, like when I was in Chennai, okay, so in Chennai you have some great readers. I spent my 9 months time in Chennai talking to readers, reading books. So we had a great discussion on this same book, where I got the introduction of the book, Becoming Supernatural. So he talks, there is nothing unknown in your predictable movements, I mean predictable future. There is nothing unknown, right? The question is, what is your spectrum, or what is your chances of you creating unknown in your future, right? So by doing the same thing again and again, everyday routine, there is nothing you can expect new, right? So we were discussing, we were in arguing a lot of points on the book, and then by the time one of my friend requested me to come for a Himalayan trek, right? So then this particular line actually triggered me. Unknown never let you down. So what I decided was, unknown never let you down, right? Then I decided, okay, I'm going to go for this trek, and I also decided in the trek I'm going to speak to all the strangers during the trek, right? So I went 14,000 feet to Aimkund, but triggered, that particular sentence triggered, where he was asking me to come, let's go, with around 25 strangers. And then because of that, okay, I thought, okay, let me find out whether really unknown can do something to you. So I was 78 by that time, right, kilos. And then you won't imagine, when 14,000 feet, Hemkund, I took 6 dips in the Hemkund, that frozen, this one, met yogis, a lot of yogis, where I didn't even know, before the trek, I didn't even know what chakra meditation, what is meditation even, right? So I met a lot of interesting people, 120 strangers, where now meditation is part of my life, all because of that trigger, right? And if you really ask me, and then even I authored my book, so it's with the publishers now, Himalayan Echoes, where I met 120 strangers in the entire trek, different characters. I authored a book based on, so it's a conversation between me and my inner self during the trek, right? So again, that particular discussion with those readers in the room, right, made me to say yes to this particular trip. I went. And now I think some interesting habits, I mean discipline is part of my life, all because of that trek.
So you were 78 kilos, if I'm correct?
Yeah, 89, 78, now 67.5.
So during the trek, during the Himalayan trek?
Yes, around 78. So I think 9 days trek, right? It was, very amazing trek with immersed with nature totally.
So taking the narrative of the unknown never lets you down, you took it on with extreme measures, 14,000 feet, climbing the Himalayas with the weight you were currently at that time, and you went up there, and the unknown spectrum of it was that you met 120 unknown people meditating. And now it's had a significant effect in your life, which you do. And the book that you're authoring is currently a discussion between you and your inner self.
Absolutely. During the trek.
It just took that one trek to...
Absolutely. And I have lots of great mentors now, all because of the trek and the amazing people I met during the trek. Yogis to some superb business professionals, still they are good friends with me.
That is just amazing. Obviously, you have been through quite a lot of experiences where it has altered it's altered the way you think, right? You see things different than most people do. And nowadays, with the social media platforms, with YouTube Shorts, TikToks, time span of attention has reduced from hours to minutes to seconds. Like, unless there isn't a plot within the first 3.5 seconds, someone can scroll around. And you have still maintained the hourly stand of keeping your attention on something because you know how important it is. How do you try and engage with that part of society now with social media growing rapidly? How do you plan on pushing back the short attention span and building back the rightful amount meaningful time of attention span towards doing something more meaningful through pick a book?
Yeah, so now take these scrolling and the shorter content, but those are like single perspectives you really ask. Now, say for example, if I'm watching, even if it's interesting content, but it's a perspective of one person. The beauty with interaction, human interaction is you get used to multiple perspective, where you learn from each other better. Now, a person who are used to that content, the time they get a chance to get into a interaction like this, of course their perspective changes, they become fan for it. That's what, say, we don't hate reading, and it's just that like now environment shapes us. The more we are with the phone, always we scroll because there is no option for us. But at the time that we put more effort on meeting people, interacting, so what we are seeing is even people who are addicted to phone, now they are coming, reading, interacting, and then getting into conversation because human interaction is needed. And not only that, even if you take with the stressed life, at the time that you speak to someone, right, a 20-minute chat can take your stress out, right? So those are those addictions are important, and those are good addiction to have. The time that you are well stressed. Now, most of the sessions we start at 6:30. They used to say, after stressful work we are here, but 1.5 hours of session and conversation, you really feel good about it, right? Some interesting perspective, books, and then conversation, critical thinking, arguments sometimes, healthy conversations, right? So a lot of impact. So still we see it's just that people are not, we are not creating the right environment for people to be the better version of themselves. It's just that everyone are with the phone. The time I think we create enough human interaction, I think this content is nothing. Interaction is the key.
So, Mr. Ragulan, before you get into a book, being a reader that's helped other people get into the idea of reading and creating this unique community-based business model that has now taken on big and even bigger communities as we speak. And I know you're headed on to more bigger things as we go from here and our future endeavors. Before you get into a book, what's your brew before you get into a book? Like, where's your mind state at?
Yeah, so I don't read fiction. I'm not a fiction reader. I'm a non-fiction reader. But for me also, like, reading has its own benefit. People sometimes read to get vocabulary. Sometimes wanted to be better at the communication. For me, the question is, what are those 3 key things I'm going to implement in life? For me, it's more towards putting the learning into practice, right? And again, not the entire thing in the book, but needed the most for myself, right? So what are those 3 key things? Because see, anyone can read a book, right? But the thing is, what you read and what you put into practice matters the most. Where the real transformation happens, where you become better version of yourself. I'll tell you one example. I think recently I read this book called Wim Hof Method, right? So 2 things I implemented from the book. One is it's a Wim Hof breathing, where it calms your entire nerve system. So I do that morning and evening 2 times, and then every Sunday I go to a 8C ice bath, right? Where you get, you feel really good about it. I see them as if my body feels good, right? So it's important to see, like, if I read a business books, what I do is I see what are those 3 key things I can implement in my organization. Some books I just read and I stop. If there is no takeaways, but majority I always look for those three things, what I'm going to put into practice. For me, it's about more towards my personal transformation as an individual, what I'm going to take and implement, as an organization, what I'm going to give it to the company. Those are the two things I'm very vigilant when I'm reading a book.
So you take any book, you look into the three key points that you can implement in your life and keep everything else aside, and you just start then and there. Well, Mr. Raghu, I can't say enough about it, but it's been a pleasure to sit right opposite you and discuss how a single book can affect a man or a woman's life, and how further it can take you to discovering who you are and who you can be as you go. Thank you very much for being part of this podcast. Means a lot. If there's one piece of advice you could give to the young entrepreneurs out there, what would you say?
Yeah, so of course, pick a book, simple as that, right? Because book can change life. It can give you enough triggers to make sure that you become better as a individual, also as a businessman, right? So it's always better, pick a book. Every day you read 5 pages. 1 month you read 150 pages. That means you read one whole book. So it's about, staying consistent in the habit is important. And for entrepreneurs, I believe books should be their mentors and coaches.
Well, you heard it from Mr. Raghu. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have a great day, ladies and gentlemen.